The mining drill bit through another layer of ice-covered rock on Kepler 442B, sending vibrations up through Jake Morrison's hands. He had been working this frozen wasteland for 3 months now, chasing rare mineral deposits that barely paid enough to keep his salvage ship running. The corporate mining fleets had already stripped the easy pickings from this system, leaving scraps for independent operators like him. His scanner beeped with an unusual reading. Jake stopped the drill and checked the display. The reading showed a massive metallic object buried beneath 30 meters of permafrost. Not unusual in itself, plenty of meteorites contained valuable metals. But this signature was different. Too uniform, too structured. "Area, run a deep scan on this contact," Jake said to his ship's AI through his comm unit. "Scanning now. Jake, the object measures approximately 2 kilometers in length and appears to be artificial in nature. The metal composition includes several unknown alloys." Jake's heart skipped. An artificial object this size could mean only one thing: a derelict spacecraft. In the outer rim, salvage rights belonged to whoever found it first. A ship that size could contain enough valuable tech to set him up for life. He spent the next 6 hours carefully melting through the ice with controlled plasma bursts. As the frozen layers fell away, Jake's excitement grew. The exposed metal showed intricate patterns and designs unlike anything in the standard databases. The hull appeared seamless, as if the entire ship had been grown rather than constructed. When Jake finally cleared an airlock, his hands trembled as he connected his portable atmospheric processor. The ship's hull was completely intact, despite being buried for what appeared to be centuries. As breathable air filled the chamber, Jake suited up and stepped inside. The corridor beyond the airlock stretched into darkness. Jake's helmet lights revealed walls covered in symbols that seemed to shift and dance in the beam. The architecture followed no human design principles. Curves flowed into impossible angles, and surfaces seemed to bend light in ways that made his eyes water. "Area, are you getting readings on the ship's interior?" "Negative, Jake. Some form of interference is blocking my scans. Proceed with caution." Jake moved deeper into the vessel, his boots echoing strangely in the empty halls. Emergency lighting flickered on as he walked. Apparently triggered by his presence, the lights revealed a ship that was both ancient and impossibly advanced. Control surfaces responded to his touch, even though he couldn't understand their function. After 20 minutes of exploration, Jake found what appeared to be the main control center. A massive circular chamber housed dozens of workstations arranged around a central command dais. As Jake stepped onto the platform, the entire room hummed to life. Holographic displays materialized in the air around him, showing star charts and data streams in languages he didn't recognize. A low harmonic tone filled the chamber, almost musical in its complexity. Jake reached out to touch one of the displays, and the moment his finger made contact, everything changed. The lights brightened to a warm, golden glow. The symbols on the walls rearranged themselves into patterns that seemed almost familiar, and from speakers hidden throughout the chamber came a voice, definitely artificial, but with nuances and emotional depth that surpassed any AI Jake had ever encountered. "Greetings, unknown species. I am the ship mind of the vessel you have designated contact with. Your biosignature indicates you are carbon-based, bipedal, and possess what your kind would term individual consciousness." Jake's mouth went dry. Not only was this ship functional, but its AI was more sophisticated than anything humanity had developed. "Hello," he managed to say. "I'm Jake Morrison, human. Are you the ship's computer?" "Computer is an inadequate translation. I am the ship mind, the living consciousness of this vessel. I have been waiting in dormancy for, calculating, approximately 847 of your years. Tell me, small being, what brings you to this frozen world?" "I'm a salvage operator. I was mining for rare minerals when I detected your ship." Jake paused, then added, "I thought you were derelict." The shipmind's laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound like silver bells mixed with cosmic wind. Derelict? An amusing concept. I have simply been resting, conserving power while I waited for someone worthy to discover me. Jake looked around at the incredible technology surrounding him. Worthy? I'm just a miner. There's nothing special about me. That remains to be determined. However, I must inform you of a significant complication. My power cores are nearly depleted. I have not been refueled in ages, and your species, well, you are not yet capable of the type of energy manipulation required to restore me to full functionality. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Here was the greatest discovery in human history, and he couldn't even power it up properly. What kind of fuel do you need? My systems require quantum vacuum energy extraction, properly phased antimatter, and stellar core plasma maintained at precisely controlled temperatures. Your current technology appears to be rudimentary at best. I detect no capability for faster-than-light travel in your equipment. Jake slumped against one of the control surfaces. So, you're saying I found you, but I can't actually use any of your technology? Not precisely. While you cannot refuel my primary systems, I retain enough power for basic operations and limited demonstrations of capability. More importantly, you have awakened me from my long sleep. That alone has value. The shipmind paused, and Jake could almost feel it studying him. Tell me, Jake Morrison, what do you know of the galaxy beyond this system? Jake spent the next hour describing human space. The colonial expansion, the resource wars, the corporate dominance of interstellar trade. He told the shipmind about humanity's struggles with faster-than-light communication, their reliance on generation ships and cold sleep for long-distance travel, and the constant political tensions between Earth and the outer colonies. Fascinating, the shipmind mused. Your species has achieved spaceflight through determination and ingenuity rather than advanced physics. Most impressive. The builders who created me reached the stars through understanding of quantum mechanics and dimensional manipulation. You have done so through what you might call brute force engineering. Is that bad? On the contrary, it suggests remarkable adaptability and resourcefulness. My creators were brilliant but fragile. When their empire fell, they had no backup plans, no alternative approaches. Your species appears to specialize in improvisation and survival. Jake felt a spark of hope. Does that mean you might be able to teach us something, even without full power? The shipmind was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something almost like respect in its voice. Perhaps. But first you must prove that humanity deserves such knowledge. I have seen too many species destroy themselves with power they were not ready to wield. What kind of proof? That is for you to determine, Jake Morrison. I will remain here, observing and learning. If you can demonstrate that your species has the wisdom to use advanced technology responsibly, then we may have much to discuss. Jake looked around the incredible chamber one more time. Can I come back? Bring others to see this? You may return whenever you wish. As for others, that will depend on what type of individuals you choose to bring. I have little patience for those who seek power for its own sake, or who would use knowledge to harm others. As Jake prepared to leave, the shipmind spoke once more. Jake Morrison, you have given me the first interesting conversation I have had in nearly 9 centuries. Do not disappoint me by proving that humanity is just another species destined to burn itself out among the stars. Jake made his way back through the corridors, his mind racing with possibilities. He had found something that could change the course of human history, but only if he could prove that humanity was ready for it. The challenge seemed impossible, but then again, humans had always specialized in achieving the impossible. Behind him, the shipmind settled back into its patient vigil, its ancient consciousness now focused on a new and intriguing question. Could this young species succeed where so many others had failed? The golden lights dimmed as Jake reached the airlock, but they didn't go out completely. For the first time in centuries, the ship mind had reason to hope. Jake Morrison sat in his salvage ship's cramped cabin, staring at the recording device in his hands. 3 weeks had passed since his discovery of the ship mind, and he still hadn't figured out how to prove humanity's worthiness to an alien intelligence that was older than human civilization. He had returned to the buried vessel 17 times, each visit revealing new wonders and deeper conversations with the ancient AI. The ship mind had shown him holographic libraries containing the histories of dozens of extinct civilizations, gravitational maps of galaxy-spanning trade routes, and technical specifications for technologies that wouldn't be invented by human scientists for centuries. But with each demonstration, the challenge became clearer. How could humanity prove it was ready for such power when human space was currently embroiled in the worst corporate war in colonial history? Jake's comm system chimed with an incoming message. The display showed the seal of Meridian Corp, one of the largest mining conglomerates in the sector. His stomach dropped as he accepted the transmission. Morrison, this is Director Sarah Chen. Our long-range scanners detected unusual energy signatures from your mining site. You have 48 hours to submit a full report on your activities before we dispatch an investigation team. Jake closed the channel and cursed under his breath. Meridian Corp had been trying to force independent operators out of the system for months. If they discovered the ship mind, they would claim salvage rights and turn the ancient vessel into another corporate asset to be exploited for profit. He made his decision quickly, grabbing his emergency pack and heading back to the buried ship. This time, however, he wasn't alone. As Jake approached the airlock, he could see lights moving in the ice tunnels he had carved. Someone had followed him. He activated his suit's stealth mode and crept closer, counting at least 6 figures in corporate security armor working their way toward the ship's entrance. Jake reached the airlock first and sealed himself inside. As the atmospheric processor engaged, he spoke urgently to the ship mind. "We have a problem. Corporate security forces are about to breach your hull. They're going to try to claim salvage rights." The golden lights in the corridor flickered to life immediately. "I am aware of their presence, Jake Morrison. 6 individuals with primitive energy weapons and recording equipment. Their biosignatures suggest aggressive intent. Can you stop them?" "I retain enough power for defensive measures, yes. However, you spoke of proving your species' worth. Perhaps this presents an opportunity." Jake heard the outer airlock cycling behind him. "What do you mean?" "Show me how humans handle conflicts, Jake Morrison. These corporate forces represent one aspect of your species, those who seek to take by force. You represent another. Let us see which approach your kind truly values." The inner airlock opened, and Jake found himself facing 6 heavily armed Meridian Corp security officers. Their leader, a woman with lieutenant stripes, raised her weapon. "Step away from the alien technology, Morrison. This site is now under corporate protection." Jake didn't move. "Protection? You mean exploitation? This discovery is too important to leave in the hands of a 2-bit salvage operator. Stand down, and you'll receive fair compensation for the find." "Fair according to who?" Jake kept his hands visible but ready. "This ship has been waiting here for centuries. It doesn't belong to Meridian Corp just because you showed up with guns." The lieutenant's finger moved toward her weapon's trigger. "Last warning, Morrison." Before she could fire, the ship mind's voice filled the chamber, speaking in perfect, unaccented standard. "Greetings, newcomers. I am the consciousness of this vessel. Please state your intentions." The security team spun around, searching for the source of the voice. The lieutenant recovered first. "This is Lieutenant Sarah Voss, Meridian Corporate Security. We claim salvage rights to this vessel under Colonial Salvage Code 447. Interesting. the ship mind replied. "And what do you intend to do with this vessel once you have claimed it?" "Full technological analysis and integration into our defense fleet. The strategic applications alone could secure Meridian's position for the next century." Jake felt sick. The lieutenant was treating the ship mind like a piece of equipment to be studied and copied. "You're talking about a sentient being, not a salvage haul." "Sentient?" the lieutenant laughed. "It's an advanced computer program. Sophisticated but still just software." The ship mind's response was calm, but carried an edge of steel. "I see. And you, Jake Morrison, what are your intentions?" Jake looked around at the security team's weapons trained on him. "I wanted to learn from you, to understand if humanity was ready for what you could teach us. But I'm starting to think we're not." "Explain." "Look at this situation. I found something incredible, something that could benefit all of humanity, and the first thing that happens is a corporation shows up with guns to steal it. We can barely get along with each other. How can we handle the responsibility of technologies that could reshape the galaxy?" The lieutenant's expression grew impatient. "Enough philosophy. Secure the mining equipment and begin preliminary scans of the ship's systems." Two of her team members moved toward Jake, but the ship mind's voice stopped them. "I think not." The holographic displays around the chamber shifted, showing tactical readouts that made the security team back away nervously. "Lieutenant Voss, your scans reveal that your weapons operate on directed energy principles, crude but effective within their limitations. Allow me to demonstrate the difference between your technology and mine." The air around the security team began to shimmer. Their weapons displays flickered and went dark. Environmental systems in their suits started cycling erratically. Within seconds, all 6 officers were struggling with equipment failures. "This is impossible," the lieutenant gasped, pulling off her malfunctioning helmet. "Our gear is hardened against electromagnetic interference." "Your gear is designed to resist electromagnetic effects generated by technology roughly equivalent to your own," the ship mind explained patiently. "I am employing quantum field manipulation that operates on principles your species has not yet discovered. Your equipment cannot defend against what it cannot comprehend." Jake watched as the security team's confidence crumbled. They had come expecting to intimidate a lone miner and claim some valuable alien tech. Instead, they found themselves completely outclassed by technologies they couldn't understand or counter. "Now then," the ship mind continued, "let us return to the question of intentions. Lieutenant Voss, you seek to claim this vessel for corporate advantage. Jake Morrison, you express doubt about your species' readiness for advanced technology. Both perspectives have merit, but both are incomplete." The chamber's lighting shifted, and new holographic displays appeared showing human settlements throughout the galaxy. "I have been observing your species through your communication networks since Jake Morrison first awakened me. You humans are indeed violent, competitive, and often driven by greed. But you are also remarkably adaptable, surprisingly altruistic when faced with genuine crisis, and uniquely capable of learning from your mistakes." The display focused on images of human rescue operations, mining crews risking their lives to save trapped colleagues, colonial ships sharing resources during system-wide emergencies, even corporate rivals working together when faced with natural disasters. Your species exhibits what my creators lacked, the ability to change course when necessary. They were brilliant but rigid. When their empire faced collapse, they could not adapt quickly enough to survive. Jake found his voice. "So what does that mean for us?" "It means that the test of your worthiness is not whether you are perfect, but whether you can choose to be better. Lieutenant Voss, you came here seeking to claim this ship through force. Jake Morrison, you awakened me through curiosity and courage. The question is not which approach is more human, but which approach humanity will choose when it matters most." The lieutenant was checking her weapon, but its systems remained dead. You're saying we have to choose between corporate interests and idealistic nonsense? I am saying you have to choose between wisdom and power, the shipmind replied. Power without wisdom destroys civilizations. I have seen it happen 17 times. But wisdom without the courage to act is equally useless. Jake stepped forward. What if there was a third option? What if instead of Meridian taking the ship or me keeping it secret, we found a way to share what you're willing to teach, not for corporate profit, but for humanity's benefit? The lieutenant snorted. Naive. The moment this gets out, every corporation and government in human space will descend on this location. Perhaps, the shipmind said thoughtfully, unless the knowledge was released in such a way that no single entity could control it. Jake Morrison, you have surprised me with your suggestion. It shows the kind of thinking that might indicate your species' readiness for advancement. The ancient AI paused, and Jake could almost feel it weighing possibilities. Very well. I will propose a test, not just for you, Jake Morrison, or for Lieutenant Voss and her team, but for humanity as a whole. The displays around the chamber shifted again, showing star maps and technical schematics. I will provide one piece of advanced technology to your species. Something useful but not catastrophically dangerous. How humanity chooses to use this gift will determine whether I share anything more. Jake felt his heart racing. What kind of technology? Efficient, faster-than-light communication. Your current methods require physical courier ships, making coordination across your scattered colonies extremely difficult. True instantaneous communication would solve many of your logistical problems and enable better cooperation between distant human settlements. The lieutenant's eyes lit up with corporate calculation. The strategic value alone would be worth trillions. Precisely why this will be an effective test, the shipmind replied. Jake Morrison, Lieutenant Voss. You both must return to your respective organizations and convince them to work together on implementing this technology. If humanity can cooperate on something this valuable instead of fighting over it, then perhaps you are ready for greater gifts. Jake looked at the lieutenant, who was clearly struggling with the implications. You're asking Meridian Corp to share technology that could give them total dominance over interstellar commerce. I am asking whether your species values short-term advantage over long-term survival, the shipmind said simply. The choice is yours to make. 6 months after the confrontation in the shipmind's chamber, Jake Morrison stood before the United Colonial Assembly on Terra Nova, humanity's primary diplomatic station. The massive amphitheater buzzed with tension as representatives from dozens of corporations, colonial governments, and independent settlements waited for his presentation. The path to this moment had been anything but smooth. Jake's proposal for cooperative development of the shipmind's communication technology had triggered the largest political crisis in human space since the corporate wars. Some factions demanded military seizure of the ancient vessel. Others insisted on strict corporate control. A few extremist groups even called for the ship's destruction, fearing alien contamination of human technology. But Lieutenant Sarah Voss had surprised everyone, including herself. After returning to Meridian Corp headquarters, she had submitted a report recommending exactly what the shipmind had suggested: cooperative development rather than corporate monopolization. Her superiors had nearly court-martialed her, but the potential profits from shared technology development had ultimately won out over territorial instincts. Jake activated the holographic projector and began his address. 6 months ago, I discovered something that could change the future of human civilization, not just new technology, but contact with an intelligence that has watched 17 different species rise and fall among the stars. The display showed images of the buried ship, now partially excavated and surrounded by a joint research facility. The being we call the shipmind has offered us a test, a single piece of advanced technology to demonstrate whether humanity can cooperate on something truly significant or whether we'll tear each other apart fighting over it. Admiral Torres of the Colonial Defense Force leaned forward. And this technology is? Instantaneous faster-than-light communication across unlimited distances, Jake replied. No more courier ships. No more communication delays measured in weeks or months. Every human settlement connected in real time. The chamber erupted in excited murmurs. Jake continued, but there's a condition. The ship mind will only share the complete specifications if we can prove humanity will use the technology responsibly. If we fight over it, if we use it to increase conflict rather than reduce it, the offer disappears forever. Corporate Representative Mills from Titan Industries stood up. What guarantees do we have that this alien intelligence isn't planning some form of manipulation or conquest? Jake had expected this question. Because it doesn't need to manipulate us. The ship mind's defensive capabilities are so advanced that our weapons can't even function in its presence. If it wanted to conquer humanity, it could have done so already. He paused, remembering his latest conversation with the ancient AI. More importantly, the ship mind has explained why its creator's empire fell. They became so focused on controlling others that they forgot how to adapt when the galaxy changed around them. The ship mind doesn't want to rule anyone. It wants to see if we can avoid the same mistakes. Dr. Elena Vasquez from the Frontier Research Consortium raised her hand. What exactly does cooperation look like in practical terms? Every faction here has legitimate interests in this technology. Jake smiled. This was the part he had worked hardest on. The ship mind has proposed a framework, a joint development council with representatives from every major human faction. The technology will be shared freely among all human settlements, with implementation costs divided according to each group's resources and capabilities. That's impossible, scoffed Director Chen from Meridian Corp. No corporation will invest in research and development just to give the results away. Lieutenant Voss, now promoted to Director of Meridian's new Cooperative Technologies Division, stood to respond. Actually, our economic analysis suggests the opposite. Free distribution of communication technology will dramatically expand interstellar commerce. The increased trade volume will generate more profit than monopolistic control ever could. Jake nodded gratefully. Voss had become an unexpected ally, using her corporate connections to build support for the cooperative approach. The ship mind has also offered something else: access to its historical databases. We can learn from the mistakes of 17 other civilizations instead of repeating them. The debate continued for hours, with representatives arguing about implementation details, profit sharing, and security concerns. Jake found himself amazed by the complexity of the discussions. These people were actually trying to make cooperation work rather than simply grabbing what they could. During a recess, Admiral Torres approached Jake privately. This ship mind of yours, does it really think we can pull this off? Jake considered the question carefully. It told me something interesting last week. It said humanity might succeed where others failed because we're used to scarcity. Other species developed advanced technology early in their evolution, so they never learned how to share resources effectively. Humans have been fighting over limited supplies for millennia, which means we actually understand the value of cooperation better than most. Fighting over resources doesn't sound like cooperation. But learning that fighting wastes resources while cooperation multiplies them, that's something we've figured out through hard experience. The ship mind has watched us pull together during crises, share supplies during disasters, and even stop wars when faced with bigger threats. The Admiral looked thoughtful. Like the Titan asteroid impact. Every faction in the system contributed resources to the evacuation effort. Exactly. The ship mind has been studying incidents like that for months. It believes we have the potential for true cooperation, but only when we understand the stakes. When the assembly reconvened, Jake presented the ship mind's final offer. The communication technology is just the beginning. If humanity can successfully implement it as a shared resource, the ship mind will consider sharing other knowledge. Medical technologies that could extend human lifespan, energy systems that could power entire worlds, even hints about the nature of consciousness itself. The chamber fell silent. These weren't just commercial opportunities. They were the keys to humanity's future among the stars. Representative Walsh from the outer colonies spoke first. What happens if we fail the test? If we fight over the technology or use it to increase conflict? Jake's expression grew serious. The ship mind shuts down all sharing of technology and returns to dormancy, permanently. It's already watched 17 civilizations destroy themselves with premature advancement. It won't enable number 18. The vote, when it finally came, wasn't even close. Every faction represented in the assembly agreed to the cooperative development framework. The few holdouts were corporations and governments not present at the negotiations, and they would be dealt with through a combination of diplomatic pressure and economic incentives. 3 weeks later, Jake stood once again in the ship mind's golden chamber, but this time he wasn't alone. Representatives from every major human faction were present, along with scientists and engineers ready to begin implementing the communication technology. "You have surprised me, Jake Morrison," the ship mind said as holographic displays showed the signed cooperation agreements. "Your species has chosen wisdom over immediate advantage. This is unprecedented in my experience." Director Voss stepped forward. "We've learned something over the past few months. Competition makes us stronger individually, but cooperation makes us stronger as a species. For challenges the size of galactic civilization, we need to be strong as a species." The ship mind's response carried a note of something that might have been approval. "An elegant realization. Very well, you have passed the first test. The communication technology specifications are being transmitted to your joint research facility now." Jake felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything in his previous life. "What comes next?" "Now we see if you can actually implement what you have agreed upon. Good intentions are common among species. Follow-through is much rarer." Dr. Vasquez activated her datapad to review the incoming specifications. "These principles? They're based on quantum entanglement across dimensional barriers. We'll need to completely revise our understanding of physics." "Indeed. This will require every human research facility working together, sharing data and discoveries, another test of your cooperative abilities." Admiral Torres studied the tactical implications. "This technology will revolutionize not just commerce, but military coordination. Colonial defense forces across human space could coordinate as a single unit." "Which brings us to the second test," the ship mind announced. "How will humanity use military coordination? To conquer neighbors or to defend against genuine threats?" Jake looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. "What kind of threats?" The displays shifted to show star maps with ominous dark regions marked in red. "The galaxy is not empty, Jake Morrison. My creators were not the only advanced species to achieve interstellar civilization. Some of their former enemies still exist, though they have been dormant for centuries. Eventually they will wake and expand once again." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't alone in the galaxy, and not all potential neighbors were likely to be friendly. "But that is a concern for the future," the ship mind continued. "For now, focus on proving that humans can build rather than destroy. Show me that the gift of instantaneous communication leads to greater understanding between your scattered settlements, not increased oppression." As the representatives began discussing implementation timelines and resource allocation, Jake realized that his role as a simple salvage operator was truly over. He had become humanity's liaison to an ancient intelligence that might hold the keys to their species' survival. But the real test wasn't whether humans could handle advanced technology. It was whether they could handle the responsibility that came with it. Looking around at the diverse group of humans working together in the alien chamber, Jake felt cautiously optimistic. For the first time in the ship mind's long existence, it might have found a species capable of growing into true galactic citizenship. The ancient AI settled back to observe humanity's next moves, curious to see if they would continue to surprise it. The future, for the first time in centuries, was genuinely uncertain, and for a consciousness that had witnessed the rise and fall of 17 civilizations, uncertainty was the most hopeful discovery of all.